All right, hello and welcome. Today we're going to do a build showcase for the Lowlife Slam Werebear, which is something I worked on a few weeks ago. I haven't gotten around to putting up, but today is the day. So this build is a pretty interesting one that's kind of a showcase for what Lowlife can do on Primalist. As you can see, it does quite a bit of damage, but it's also got a ton of health, and that is what really makes it a potentially high value, high performing end game build. So this build I want to point out is a showcase. This isn't a guide or a build guide in the traditional sense for me, which is something that I've really kind of min-maxed about as much as I feel like I can. Something that would be worthy of going up on max roll as a build guide. This is in a good state. It's been tested. It's been tested at decent corruption, but it still could use some more optimization. And so this is something for people who want to either are happy with it as it is because it's still in a good state, or would like to see if they can push it even further to give you just what it looks like, how you generally build it, and then you can take it from there. Okay, so let's talk about what this is good at and what it's not so good at. So what it's good at, especially, is tankiness. This is a very, very tanky build. In fact, to give an example, the EHP calculator on this with the gear shown in the planner that I will provide is an average EHP of 272,000 against physical damage, 151,000 against non-physical, and 93,000 against dots. To put that in perspective, there are well-performing endgame builds that have like 20,000 average EHP and like 5 to 10,000 EHP versus dots. So while this is not the tankiest build in the game, it is exceptionally tanky. It is way up there. And it's going to be really hard to die if you have good gear. Like really hard to die in this build. I don't remember. I think I died once and it was like a freak dot thing, and I don't have this gear at all. I'm not even close to this gear right now on the setup that I was playing. So extremely tanky. It also has very solid clear. It's very good at clear. It's a guaranteed crit on every hit, and then it has a large multiplier to enemies that are at full health. So it doesn't usually have an issue, especially with non-rare, non-boss. It one-shots them, and then it kills rares pretty well too. It's also reasonably quick. It's not insanely fast, but it's reasonably quick. It's not the slowest build I've played at all, but it's definitely not a speed farmer either. Don't play this if you're trying to go as fast as possible. It's not going to be very good at that. What it's not especially good at is single target. It's quite weak at single target. It's still playable. It's still within the realm of, I don't hate this, but these fights take a while. Unfortunately, though, your actual tankiness is so high that, except for like the very most powerful attacks, bosses pretty much can't kill you. So it's just a matter of time. So it's not too bad. But that is definitely something. If you're used to like a high single target build, you're gonna find this one is not to your liking, at least in that regard. All right, so that's the pros and the cons. Let's talk about the skills, how this thing works, and then we'll get into the equipment and how we make it low life, why we make it low life. So the skills are going to be built around Werebear and the Maul attack that occurs. So Maul is a slam attack that the Werebear has access to, and we can also add in Fury Leap's skill tree to Maul to give it additional power. So we build around Maul within Werebear, so we take the more damage. We also take some stuff for move speed, we take some stuff for rage, but we're really building around Maul, more damage, recovery speed, and then the ability to get Fury Leap as its tree as part of Maul. One thing we don't take, that is something that should be pointed out, we don't take Pummel and Bash. And it seems like on the face of this you should. You get more melee damage to stunned, and it's a fairly large multiplier, 75%, that's pretty good. However, the problem is it's ineffective on bosses. And I mean, it's hard to stun bosses, right? But what really complicates it is there should be a way to use this pretty reliably through Warcry, because Warcry can stun. So the reality is we should be taking this if everything worked as we'd expect, because we'd stun him with Warcry and then we'd slam into him and get a 75% multiplier. However, for whatever reason, both rares and bosses have a dramatically reduced amount of stun time, to the point to where after you Warcry and then you immediately maul, you still won't hit them in time. They're already out of stun. With stun duration, this might be solvable, but I didn't get to test that enough, so that might be something other people want to look into. If you get enough stun duration, can you reliably stun them with Warcry and then maul them? And if so, maybe we go more into Pummel and Bash. But without that, it's definitely not worth it. You're not going to be able to use it when it matters most, which is on tank your enemies. So Sag can't take advantage of that. But we can take advantage of Fury Leap and the multipliers in this one. So we do take just the damage and the cooldown recovery. We take Ambush Predator for at full. This just helps with clear. It's not really good for bossing or single target. Rares it helps on. But really it's for clear to get through packs quickly and get through echoes more quickly. We take the immune while leaping. We do not take the pulls enemies because this doesn't pull until after the slam and everything's dead already. So it's kind of useless. It's another one of those should work this way, doesn't work this way, Sag. So we just avoid it. We take the area and the mana cost reduction. We take some crit multi, and then we take the crit chance below half health. This is when you are below half health, which is always because you're a low life build. And so you have a guaranteed crit on this, which is really nice and very powerful. Next, we'll talk about Swipe, which is it's more of a buff generator. So you will have downtime in Maul. It's not very much, like 3.5 seconds, but you will have downtime. And if you swipe in between that, you'll be able to build up Fizz Shred, Fizz Shred. You'll be able to build up global damage, global attack speed, and you'll be able to build up global crit multi, and global melee damage. So that's basically everything that Swipe is doing here. It is allowing you to build up more buffs on you and debuffs on the enemy. This will also allow you to shred armor and whatnot if you've got that on your gear, which you should. Then Warcry will also assist with that through Berserker, Fury Strikes, Brutality, which will allow you to build up attack speed, but also allow you to build up melee damage. So that's a pretty significant thing. And this is, you're going to apply this with Swipe. Swipe is how you're going to get the most out of Berserker. So that's how we use Swipe. We slam, and then we swipe, 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 and then we slam again, etc. Rinse and repeat. Okay, we are going to use a pull in this one because it does work. It is good. And we take knockback distance to pull more enemies. We don't need the crit in this because we have guaranteed crits, so we're good there. We do get some area, and then we do change it from stun to freeze to get the hit damage taken while frozen, because if the stun ain't going to work, the freeze actually does, so we'll just take that. And that's pretty much how that works. The last one we have, and I would say the most controversial and the one that I'm the most torn on, is Summon Stormcrows. We're taking this for Aspect of the Crow, which gives us melee lightning damage per stack. It gives us quite a bit of this. It gives us quite a bit of added damage. We're a physical build generally, but we still have enough things that multiply the melee lightning damage to make this a pretty sizable buff in our damage. However, the biggest problem is these things don't like to survive. They really don't. And to give them enough gear to make them survive doesn't feel like it's worth it right now. There's a lot of stats that we want on this setup. This is a pretty gear heavy setup. And so providing them with what they need is a tough sell. So we don't have them up all the time, even when we invest in good berries and silver berries and forager and give them dodge. It's just not enough. So you might find this isn't something that you particularly like, and that's totally understandable. If you want to get out of this, my recommendation would be, apparently I can't do it that way, that you look at the Spriggan tree and invest in getting a little bit more out of Thornshield. You can get additional armor. I think that's the big thing. A lot of additional armor if you go into the Spriggan tree, and also duration. In my testing, it wasn't very noticeable, so it wasn't very good, but there's just not great options here. And if you don't want to deal with the management of Stormcrows, that would be where I would go. It's not a big difference either way. This is really these 4 skills are doing most of the work, but you have some flexibility there. Okay, that's the skills and how those work. So let's talk about the gear. I'm not going to talk too much about the passives. I think this is a pretty well optimized passive tree that's doing pretty much everything we want, including giving us the DR and the damage that we want. But yeah, it should be pretty well off. You might be able to make some adjustments here. We will be talking about one of these nodes, which actually we can talk about right now. So this is a low life build, right? We're building for ward. We're building out of life. Why would we do that? There's 3 reasons why. The first we've already talked about: guaranteed crits on Maul when you're in low life. Beautiful. Low life, that means you have 100%. You don't have to you don't have to gear for crit. You just it's just there. So that solves a problem very quickly and opens up a lot of space on our gear to do other things. The next reason why is because generally, right now, low life is very good. Low life has a lot of support for it, and thanks to the Cleaver solution, it's very easy for us to gear what we need to get this, because Cleaver's solution allows us to stack strength, which we naturally want to do anyway in this build. And in doing so, we get intelligence equal to our strength. And intelligence is ward retention, which is what is required to get a lot out of a low life setup, because what you're going to be doing is using Exsanguinous, Last Steps of the Living, and an experimental affix on your gloves to reduce your current health per second, but then gain your missing health as ward per second. And in doing so, you can get some pretty crazy amounts of ward. In perfect gear, you're looking at over 30,000 ward. That's standing. That's how much you have if you stand still and don't do anything. That's an insane amount of ward. That's almost 10 times what you can get in health. So that's crazy, and that's why we do it. Without Cleaver Solution, this doesn't work, but because they added Cleaver Solution last patch, it works very, very well. And so there's a lot of incentive to go low life because you can get more EHP, effective health pool, basically how much damage you can take before you die, out of this setup than you can without going low life, with going regular health. The other benefit, thanks to being able to do that, is we can take the Berserker node in the Primalist base tree, which gives us 25% less damage taken on low health, which is even more EHP for us, but also doubles our damage, literally doubles our damage, 100% more melee damage on low health. So this Maul build, in my opinion, doesn't even work without this, because it's competing with Earthquake Werebear, which is very, very high damage and still higher damage than this. So don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say this is the same damage as Earthquake. It's not. But because of this, because of the way low life is giving us so much EHP, we can go more tanky and go less damage with this setup and not go EQ. We can't go EQ with this setup without doing some weird things that don't involve Cleaver Solutions. Probably not worth it. The reason for that is because you need a two-handed mace, unique two-handed mace, in order to play the EQ Werebear. You can't have Cleaver Solution if you have a two-handed mace. So this is how we've got to go with it. But that's how that whole setup works. We're using Last Steps of Living, Exsanguinous, and Cleaver Solution, and the experimental affix to reduce our health to low and our life to low, and then get massive amounts of ward off of that. And we need a Cleaver Solution to make that work, because we need lots and lots of ward retention. In this setup, we have 129 strength, which means we also have 129 intelligence, even though it's not showing on here. It is 129 intelligence times 4 is what you have as far as ward retention just from your intelligence. It's a 516 ward retention, 516%, which is a ton. It's a lot. That's a lot of ward retention. It's all you need for this build. Okay, now since we're building, though, for low life with these things, there are some things that we can do with our gear to maximize it. So one thing that would look funky to a player who's played a lot of this game is having Twisted Heart of a Kairos in here, because the unique effect is not actually occurring. We don't use elemental spells, we don't use necrotic spells, and even if we did, converting current health to ward would be silly, because we're a low life build. We don't have much current health. We don't care about that at all. We also don't care about the +1 necrotic spells. We don't care about the +1 elemental spells. What we do care about on this is the 16 strength, the 20% increased health, and then the ability to put another 16 strength on a relic slot, so we can get 32 strength and 20% increased health off of that. That's a ton of EHP in this one slot, because we're going to get all of that intelligence from the strength. We're going to get all of that health, which we need to convert over to ward, so that's more ward for us. We also get damage from the strength, 4% per strength, 32 times 4, it's over 100% increased damage. And we get armor, over 100% increased armor just from this. So this is a amazing stat stick that looks kind of weird. There's actually like 3 of these in here that are like that just look really, really strange. Another one is Legacy of the Quiet Force. This probably doesn't look as weird to people who play the game enough, because Legacy of the Quiet Force is a really good stat stick. We don't care about the Spriggan form stuff on this, of course, because we're not Spriggan form, but poison resistance while transformed, and poison resistance is capped in this one item. half our void, or more than half our void resistance. It's got a lot of armor on it, and then it's possible to get this with 2 LP or higher, and so getting 24% increased health, and then hybrid health as well. This is a ton of EHP as well. Another really strange one that was probably going to start, if low life sticks around post 1.0, this will probably start to get a lot of traction, is the Last Nomad, or Heirloom of the Last Nomad. I've just started theory crafting with this fairly recently. And the reason why this works in a low life setup is because you have so much EHP that's hard to get stunned. Like, it's very rare that you're going to get stunned. So the increased duration of stuns received on this is not a big deal. And you don't need your potions for anything else. So even if you do get stunned, you can just potion out of it. So that is not a downside anymore. But having the big health on this, and the big, those are effectively tier 5 or tier 6 effectively, cold res and void res. And then this having a pretty good legendary potential level means you can also get 2 LP on it. If you know, it's a lot of farming, but you can do this. So you can get another 16 strength here, and then something like resistance on it as well. This also has fire resistance built into the top, so you're talking about a ton of resistance just out of this item, and then a ton of health. It's hard to go wrong with this. The other thing that we've got in here is a Peak of the Mountain. This allows us to turn off Leech in any cases that we have it. This is very much not necessary. You can absolutely go without this. But if you have some areas where there's benefits of Leech, so like for example, we're not doing it right now, but we could now take this, and we could actually get the more damage from this. So this opens up some possibilities. Again, I haven't optimized this. I haven't tried Savage Impact, but this is an option for you. This is very much a maybe slot, maybe not slot. But it does have +5 to all attributes as well, so it gives us another 5 strength on it. So it gives us additional strength beyond which we would normally get in this slot. So you can also get 3 LP fairly reasonably. You can get your Werebear form, your strength, and your health. But want to reiterate, this is very much a slot in contention. The rest of these slots I feel like are really strong. I'm still back and forth in this one. Feel free to test it. But Peak of the Mountain is very easy to get LP on. So there you go. Other things to talk about. Amulet, 20% less damage over time taken is huge, and we can do that easily on this build, especially with the way that we're getting our resistances. So that's a very big benefit. Getting ward retention and chronic resistance on a ring is excellent. Attunement is nice when you can get it. Strength is better. And of course the gloves, you got to get that current health loss. Everything else in this is secondary to getting the best version of the experimental fix you can. Tier 7 is amazing. Tier 6 is really good too. Don't sell yourself short on that. That's a mandatory thing. These 3 items, that Exsanguinous, Last Steps, are mandatory. So is Cleaver Solution to even make the build work. Okay, I think that covers most everything on here. Just a really quick comments. You don't need melee crit chance on weapons, so that's pretty sweet. So you can put base damage and crit multi everywhere. That's awesome. But yeah, let me know what you think about it if you get a chance to test it out. We were able to really push some good stuff, and I know Swipe Low Life Werebear has pushed 1,000 corruption plus with someone who's played a lot of it, but it's very much possible. To be fair, most builds are possible pushing 1,000 corruption if you pick and choose, but it sounds like you could do it relatively smoothly, which is really nice, not having to pick and choose too much. So my expectation is that someone who really gears this out is going to be able to do pretty high corruption, probably very high corruption. 500 will be not even hard for it. It'll be kind of, I expect that to be kind of trivial. So yeah, let me know how you feel about it. If you like it, if you have some suggestions about ways that it could be improved, feel free to drop those in too. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a great time in Last Epoch, and I will see you all again real soon.